Hey everybody, I'm Riggin and welcome to our third and final part of the Imperium breakdown for our narrative tier list. You guys have been with us for an epic ride so far, so let's go ahead, grab yourself a cozy drink, get yourself a blanket, and let's dive right into it. Just a quick thing before we start, if you haven't seen part 1 or 2, we got links down below. We also have a breakdown of the core rulebook tier list, that's the baseline for all of our tiers, and we also have a how to play kill team narrative video. And just a quick overview of our tier list, SAB are just, super strong through mid strong. C tier is either only useful in like super niche tiers, as well as only providing like absolutely bare minimum value, but still technically useful. And then D tiers are traps. They're effectively useless, they're far too expensive, or actually detrimental. So be careful of those ones. We'll be pointing them out along the way. But without further ado, guys, let's dive into the first team, the Intercession Squad, the Space Brains. I have a lot of fun with this team. Moving on to their battle honors, we have basically improved BS skill by 1. Really nice, especially because you got that baked-in reroll with your like strategic ploys. You can throw gun ace in here and make things pretty ridiculous. Easy A tier. Honestly, it's kind of squeeging the S tier territory because the damage they're putting out is ridiculous. If they see something, they're going to shoot it and they're probably going to kill it. And you're basically guaranteed 4 hits in every single shot, which is just nice. Moving on to their weapon skill, hitting on 2s is beautiful. Something I think about is normally it's overkill. Because like if you're fighting against Vet Guard, you don't need 5 hits, you need 3 and you're good to go. So a bit overkill. However, against melee teams, people tend to be a lot tankier and it takes a lot more to kill them. So actually like getting those 5 hits in combat could actually make a huge difference. You can either parry somebody out and deal like your 3 hits in, or just hit them 5 times and smack them down, because some people are really tanky, especially like the Gellerpox in this game. I keep talking about the Gellerpox, but they're absolute monsters. So we have that A tier. When it's useful, it is pretty good. All right, so next up is the Chapter Exemplar. Basically, you get an additional Chapter Tactics ability, and it must be one from the additional existing categories that you've already chosen from. So it's a little bit restrictive there. So basically, you're getting this battle honor, and in exchange, you're getting the 3rd best option for chapter tactics because you're already choosing the best 2. I'm kind of curious, but there's some interesting combinations you can go for. Aggressive gives you the rending special ability, and Dueler lets you double crit on parries, so you can go hard on your parry game. You can go hard on your tank game by getting unyielding +1 to wound, and then durable with -1 to your crit damage. And then you throw something else like just normie good in there, like the rapid, so you can move faster and not have to think about too much. So it's interesting. I only give it a B tier because it's like your 3rd best battle honor again, and it's competing with some hot stuff. So it's good. There's just better stuff out there. Then up, we got Spiritual Resolve. So in the recovery tests, I'm already going to give this a D tier. You already know it. But you basically get advantage on that roll. You know what? It prevents death. Being stronger in the first place. So choose something that's going to make you less likely to die in the first place, and you're going to have a good day. Don't waste your battle honor on this. It is so laughably useless. All right, and then up we have Specialized. Basically, you get to choose a battle honor from one of the specialisms that you didn't already take. It's cool. It's as good as the one you choose. Again, check out our core tier list in the link below. I'm gonna say that every single time. But you could take the Indomitable tree if you want. Indomitable is like seriously one of the best battle honors out there in the core rulebook. One little nasty combo out there is doing Indomitable plus your durable chapter tactic. So it is going to make crits deal such a laughably small amount. So if it's dealing 4 damage on a crit normally, you're going to subtract 1 for durable, and then Indomitable is going to take 2/3 of that damage. So you're literally going to take 2 damage on average from your crits, from 4 damage crits, and that's half damage. So you'll be laughing all the way home. We get a star. It's probably an S rank for whatever you choose, but it's a star because it's as good as the battle honor you take from it. All right, and then up we have Honored by the Armory. Basically, this battle honor gives you an extra equipment point. Intercession have some really awesome equipment points, seriously better than a lot of the other teams, but I would only consider this as like a 4th or 5th battle honor pickup because the other battle honors are just so good. So we do give this a C tier just because of the fierce competition, and an additional equipment point is not that great. So moving to their rare equipment, the first one we got is the Bastion Field Generator. This gives you a 4-up invuln save on a model. It's cool against plasma weapons, which is like a big weakness for them. So you slap this on your leader, suddenly your leader is way more safe than he was. It's not very useful against AP1 guns, but here's some quick maths for you if you're versus AP1 gun and you have this equipment. So ask yourself these questions. If the answer is yes, use your normal 3-up save. That's going to be mathematically better for you. Are you in cover? Then you're going to take your auto retained save and then use your invuln save to roll your other 2 dice on a 4-up, and that's going to give you your best save. So I've done the math on this. The first bullet point just barely squeezes you out by like an additional single % better. So yeah, kind of whatever. So either way, with all that being said, a 4-up invuln save is pretty cool, especially against plasma threats, but it's only on 1 operative, it's kind of expensive, and it's got some stuff to compete with. So B tier, it's useful. So moving on, we have the Adamantine Mantle for 2 EP. So you get the following ability once per turning point, so only once per turning point. When critical damage would be inflicted upon this operative, you can use this ability. If you do so, it inflicts normal damage instead. So it doesn't prevent critical hits from coming in. It just makes it critical damage. Sounds okay at a glance, but it is a trap. First of all, it has poor synergy with Durable, the thing that gives you -1 to crits in the first place. So you kind of just don't care about crits. And Indomitable, which is like one of the best core rulebook things anyway, battle honors anyway. So when crits are dealing literally less damage than normal hits, you don't want to convert the damage to normal damage. So laughably, this one gets D tier. It is horrible. Never, ever, ever take this one. Moving right along, we got the Targeting Ocular for 2 EP. Basically, you get to ignore the obscuring rule with your operative, which is actually pretty cool. It used to be incredibly strong in Beta Decima. However, they fixed that, thank goodness. And it is, so at this point, it moves on to it being map dependent. It's pretty nice and Into the Dark, honestly, when you're shooting through 2 doorways. Usually those models are obscured, so it lets you get a lot more shots. And when you're on guard in Into the Dark, you can make it so that you are not victim of one-way obscurement, which is really strong for elite teams. So with all that being said, I think it's going to get a B tier in general. However, when it's on Into the Dark, I would honestly give this an A tier, and it really lets you lock down a room. So I kind of like this one a lot. The downside being it's not just a raw power boost, and we like raw power boosts here. They're good for a reason. So it's got some competition, but yeah. Either way, moving along. So we got the Servo Cherub. For 3 EP, you basically get a free mission action once per turn. Extra APL is nice, but they are already 3 APL anyway, so they might not get value out of it, especially in more open boards. However, in Into the Dark, that extra AP is actually really, really strong. So I would probably give it an A tier in Into the Dark. And so we're going to rate this where it's useful. And give it an A tier. However, know where you're playing and only take it Into the Dark, honestly. I probably wouldn't give it any thought in any other board. Then up, we got the Artificer Armor for 3 EP. Get a 2-up save. That's honestly not a great increase to your tankiness. First of all, it really doesn't help at all against anything with high AP or high attack dice numbers. And it's a rare equipment slot that you're competing with. So yeah, really the only use case is like AP1 or AP0 guns. It's going to give you a slight edge and, kind of forget about cover, I guess. So we give this a C tier. It is very minimal value. Honestly, I sketched this one's basically borderline a trap. And even though it doesn't go away, unlike the Legionary version of this, I probably still wouldn't ever consider this one. So C tier for now. Don't take this one. Then up, we got the Chapter Artifact for 1 AP. Basically, +1 to your APL in terms of control. Basically, Banner, I really like this one in the Elite matchup because it lets you steal the objective away from Elite teams, which is super cool. It's also only 1 equipment point, which is cool, but you're considering it is a rare equipment slot, and so that makes it a little risky. Still, give it a B tier. I like this one, but only versus the Elite matchup. So if you got a lot of Elite players, you can definitely steal some points with this one. Versus like 2 APL teams, it's probably not going to make any difference anyway. So don't give that one too much mind. So moving right along, we got Strategic Assets. The first one up is the Hypno Indoctrination Shrine. So this one's kind of interesting. Basically, whoever you selected for battle and did not fail a casualty test and has the lowest EXP number on your team gets an experience point. So it's kind of a cool way to bring up the dude who's lagging behind and give them more EXP. Do note that you need someone with the veteran rank or higher on this in order to pick it up. But cool, nice little boost. I wouldn't hold on to this for your important games or your later games, but it's a great way to accelerate you to get to your first battle honor power spike. So we give it a C tier because it is niche, because you're only using it when you're trying to accelerate really hard, but it's not super strong afterwards. Then up, we got the Intel Cache Uplink. So this one's kind of interesting to think about. So it lets you set up 1 inch outside of your drop zone instead of wholly within it. So basically it does several things. It's basically a 1 inch deploy, but you cannot use your recon dash, your scouting phase recon dash, because you must be set up wholly within your drop zone. So this voids that. Second, Space Marines are already pretty gosh darn fast. If you're taking the +1 inch from Rapid, rapid, you're already moving faster, and you're 3 APL. So you're probably not going to find a big difference for this 1 extra inch. You're probably going to get to any objective marker that you set your heart on, and it's probably not going to get you any more shots in the first turn anyway. So with all that being said, we give it a C tier because maybe there's a world where it's useful. It's just probably not your world. So we'll leave it in the niche category. If you want to big brain it, cool, be my guest. But honestly, strategic assets shouldn't be that hard to get value out of. All right, and then up we got the Arsenal Subvault. So basically this lets you change up your loadout for an operative if you want to. Spoilers, if you want to do that, just buy a second operative. It's not worth this very niche thing that you're going to use for your wasting a strategic assets a lot. So it's a D tier. Don't ever consider this one. It's a total trap. Moving all right along. We got the requisitions coming next. So first one up is Tribute to Noble Duty for 1 RP. This one is absolutely incredible. So purchase this requisition after you win a game and scored more than 16 victory points, and add a item of rare equipment to your stash. Holy crap, you're going to be rolling in rare equipment with this one. Something you're actually going to have to remember is you can't take more than 2 of the same rare equipment because you might be tempted to with this one. Do this and you will have like 5 to 10 rare equipment. You could have every rare equipment in the game in a very small amount of time. All of your friends will be very impressed with you. This one gets the double S tier ranking because, oh my god, is it good. And you're going to use every single one of those rare equipment points that you're going to get your hands on. So super powerful, one of the best in the game, double S tier. Let's see what the next one is. So we have Artificer Wrought Weapon. So purchase this requisition after a game in which someone has ace rank or higher, and you can add a rare equipment to your stash, but only that operative can use it. So this is really funny coming off the last one, because you get a rare equipment, which is incredibly powerful, but it's only limited to this guy. So unfortunately, even though it's really, really good, it's completely outclassed by Tribute, the one right before it. So technically gets an S rank, but because it's so hard to use, you just never use it. So moving right along, we are going to the last one. We have Solemn Oath, which is like a fun little quest you get to do. So you get to select an Intercession Squad bro and make them take an oath, and let them select from one of the following quests below. Either Valor, which means you have to get the highest number of kills, Duty, which means you must score more victory points than anybody else, or Honor, which means you must be wholly within your opponent's drop zone at the end of the battle. Complete your quest and get 2 experience points. So cool. Fun little quests. We like those. Technically an S tier because honestly the battle honors for these guys are so good that it's really worth just hard accelerating into them. So use this when you can, but save onto some points for getting your rare equipments in, so that those take priority, but this is also really good. So either way, that was the Intercession Squad. Some really incredibly powerful rare equipment here. And next up, we got the next Imperium team, the Phobos Strike Team. Shout out to Tomas and his Raven Guards. We played our campaign where he was playing his Raven Guard Phobos team. Super lot of fun, but let's roll into their battle honors and see how they compare to their brothers, the Intercession Squad. So first up, we have Ghost. Once per battle, they get to use the Guerrilla Warfare action for 1 less action point down to a minimum of 0. So that's really cool, actually. That's the ability that lets them flip their order, so long as it's not on the first turning point. So effectively, you get silent for most of the game, which is pretty good, honestly. As long as you're not a melee operative and you don't really care, you like that. So it really forces your opponents to get in close or need to use Vantage, which makes it stronger and Into the Dark, but also weaker and Into the Dark because you're just closer and Into the Dark anyway. So something cool to think about. Definitely not as useful on your Reavers or whoever you're using as your frontliners because your opponent is very likely to just walk up within 2 inches and shoot you anyway. But we do give this an S tier. It is honestly really good. Staying safe is the name of the game when it comes to Kill Team, and this lets you achieve that with flying colors. Better than tanking a shot is just not getting shot, so we really like that. We got Assassin. So this operative for the charge action while it has concealed order. So that sounds pretty awesome, right, guys? Like, it's just like the Orc Commandos. It's a really powerful ability on their team, but guess what? If you look back, Ghost is so good, you're probably going to take that. Just grab Ghost because you're not charging on turning point 1. And if you are, I don't know, something crazy is happening, but this gets a trap. It's not actually good because of the last battle honor. So don't take this one. It's a trap. Moving along, we have mobile. So this operative gets performed the fallback action for 1 equipment point. This is so incredibly rare to be useful. Even your non-melee specialized operatives are pretty good at melee. And so anytime you would want to fall back, usually just punching your way out of a situation is the right answer. Or if you have a combat knife, that's even better. So this gets a D tier. It's a trap. It's not worth it. And the only times it'll be useful are so incredibly rare. So unfortunate D tier for them, but moving on to Raider, this operative can perform a charge action while within engagement range of another operative. Again, this is like so incredibly rare for it to be useful. Like, yeah, maybe you charge someone, you're safe from shooting because they have already activated, and then you charge their backline to attack a gunner, but just take fight twice instead of taking this. So you can kill the first guy you're engaged with and then charge the backliner, or you shoot the backliner or whatever. This is a total trap. It's not good. D tier. Oh no. Moving right along, Guerrilla. For the purposes of guerrilla warfare, this operative cannot perform this action while within engagement range of an enemy operative instead of the normal 3 inches. So this is so seldom useful. You must be greater than 1 inch and less than 3 inches away from an enemy operative for this to even matter. But guess what? If you're kind of that close anyway, the operative is just going to move a little bit, get within 2 inches of you, and shoot you, and your conceal order matters 0 anyway. Once again, this team gets another trap. A big L for the Phobos. Well, let's see if they can pull this out off the ground for the next one. Dynamic. Each time this operative is activated, you can ignore all modifiers to your APL and movement characteristics. We don't care because it is so seldom useful. They have access to and they shall know no fear. So that is completely void. And APL modification and all these modifiers are super rare anyway. It does let you get Overwatch shots without penalty, which is kind of cool, but like, holy crap, this is not useful. It gets another D tier. And so, out of the grand total of 5 D tiers for the battle honors, Phobos get the grand honor of probably having the worst battle honors in all of Kill Team. Tomas, I am so sorry you had to endure with this. And you also played this Kill Team narrative before they got all their buffs, like right when Phobos dropped too. So lots of laughableness in here. But that being said, Phobos are an incredibly fun team, so don't let these battle honors turn you off. You also have ones in the core rulebook that are super useful, particularly Gun Ace. It's always so good. So don't worry about that if you're thinking about playing Phobos in the narrative game. But moving right along, we have their rare equipment. So first up, we got the Artificer's Blade for 3 EPs. Choose a Reaver or Incursor and select their combat knife or combat blade and add 1 to its crit characteristic, and it gains the lethal 5 special roll. This is pretty good. If you're going for a crit build, like a one-shot crit build, this is a great way to do that. And it's a strong buff. Lethal 5 is pretty awesome, actually. So easy A tier. We actually really like this equipment. Then up, we got the Umbra Shroud. So for 3 equipment points, basically it forces your opponents to reroll critical hits in shooting attacks. That's kind of cool. It really annoys your opponent, especially if they're counting on crits. It wrecks snipers because like the 1 in 6 chance for your crit, you're going to be rerolling those and you're probably not going to crit again. This is interesting because the higher your opponent's weapon skill is, the more useful this is. So if you think about that, if they have a 5-up weapon skill, they're hitting on 5s, they're either going to hit you on a 5 or a 6. And so if you're forcing the reroll on the 6, they have a huge chance of just outright missing the shot. Versus if they hit on a 2, they're still probably going to hit you with a normal hit after this. So very strong on teams with lower, like weaker ballistic skills. Definitely likely to force an extra shot or 2 to kill you. So we do like that. But Phobos are still fragile and they still die easily to high AP weapons. So with all that being said, it's not super useful. So we give it a B tier. It's probably going to help you out a little bit, but not a ton. Then up, we got the Exogeist Scrambler for 2 EP. For your infiltrators only, they basically get global on their Omni Scramble ability, and this operative counts as 2 operatives instead of a normal 1. It is absolutely incredible on Into the Dark because basically your opponent is probably hiding behind a door or not very visible to your infiltrators. So being able to globally just stall your biggest threat and like then charge them with a Reaver or whatever the heck you want to do is invaluable and easily probably one of the #1 first picks I would choose for this team. However, on Not Into the Dark, it becomes incredibly way less useful. Usually you're able to see like your most important threat in front of your face. Like it's either some bro about to charge you from 6 inches away or like someone who's peeked their head out of cover. Maybe you want to use this against a gunner that's like hiding behind terrain and is going to peep you anyway. So it's only very niche on other maps. So easy S tier on It's Dark. C tier on other maps. Very niche. But it does allow you for some very interesting play. It basically lets you do very aggressive plays with your operatives. So you could set yourself in a really offensive position with a lot of big plays, delay your biggest threat, and then execute some really powerful turning point 2 moves. The only thing is, once again, if it's on open board, you can probably do those plays anyway. So save this for Into the Dark. You're gonna have a great time. With all that being said, we are giving this the S tier, but only when it is Into the Dark. So use it there. All right, then up we have Aerial Tracking Augur. So an infiltrator gets the following ability, which is basically reroll the initiative roll. This is a pretty nice ability. It can easily win you the initiative roll on turning point 2, which can easily win you a game or lose you a game, so it's pretty important. However, something to note is it doesn't stack with the comms network. That rule that says you can't reroll a die more than once, that applies to everything, including this initiative roll. So with that being said, we do give it an A tier. The only thing you have to be careful about is if your operative dies, you don't get this ability anymore. So you do have to be careful with that infiltrator for this to be useful, as opposed to the comms network, which is guaranteed for you. So something to keep your eyes on. Next up, we have the Enhanced Optic. For 2 equipment points, you get to change your ballistic skill to 2 for the battle. That's pretty cool. Place it on your veteran, make him hit on 2s. It's a pretty threatening model. Everybody else, their guns aren't that great. So easy A tier, nothing special about it. Then up, we got the Reaver rounds for 3 EP. Basically, it lets your pistol get the silent special roll and the mortal wounds 1 critical special roll. That's cool. It's a modest boost to damage. Silent doesn't matter with Ghost because you are already taking the Ghost battle order anyway because it's the best one. But the extra mortal wounds is nice. But other things to think about is you do need to be close range for this to work. And it's 3 equipment points, so it's kind of expensive. So I would probably look in the core rulebook first before considering this one, because your Reavers don't do a lot of shooting. So ultimately, we are going to give this one a B tier. And that is it for the rare equipment. Moving on to the strategic assets. Right, now we have the Lodestar class Auspex. This one's pretty interesting. So first things first is it lets you use the Elite Reconnaissance Tactical Ploy without spending any command points. So that is a tactical ploy that lets you redeploy 2 of your models or resolve an additional scouting option. And the second thing it does is it lets you use the Vanguard strategic ploy on the first turn for free. So Vanguard is always good. We use it almost every single turning point and always in the first turning point, basically. So cool, like we 100% guaranteed value. We get a free command point out of that. Elite Reconnaissance, though, is interesting. So if you want to use the redeploy, either you can save like a scuffed deployment. So say you screwed up, you could save that, which is cool. It can win you, like save you from losing the game. Or you can use it to bait out your opponent. So like maybe you stick your operatives out in the open. They're not really aware of your ability, although you should be communicating what your abilities do and not surprise your opponent. But still, you can do that. Force them into a bad deployment where they expose their gunner and then yeet yourself to the other side of the board and be tricky about that. Or if that's too much effort, you just get an additional scouting option, which like having an additional scouting dash is really cool and can score you some extra points. So I like this one. It might like the first bullet point might not be useful. So it kind of So basically, as a big takeaway, you're getting 2 free CP, but they're very restricted in use. But they're good use. So we give this an A tier. It's good. It's not going to be my first pickup. My second pickup might be my 3rd or 4th pickup. So we like it. It's good. It's just so there's some fierce competition out there for the strategic assets at the moment. Then moving along, we got the Shroud Skulls. Once after each battle, add 1 to your casualty or recovery test. Oh boy, you can only use it once. Cool, whatever. It's a D tier. The interesting thing is it means you'll pretty much never get battle scars. So it is kind of like one of the better like recovery things in the game, but still, we don't like it, so it gets D tier. All right, and so next up we have Enhanced Surveillance System, and this one's pretty interesting. So after rolling off to determine attack defender, you get to reroll that die. So you get a good chance of determining which side of the board you want. This can be actually incredibly important. Some of the narrative missions are incredibly one-sided, and it's like a 80-20% like skew for equal players to win as the attacker or win as the defender respectfully. Alternatively, it could matter none because some of the maps are just literally symmetric. So read this mission before picking up like picking up your game. And if you think it's going to make a difference, whether you need to, like you absolutely need to be the attacker or defender, totally pick it up for one single game. And then sell it back because you could drop your strategic assets for free and then purchase a new one for the requisition point. So this can just outright win you a game. And because of the absolute potential power of that, we do give it an S tier when it is useful. It's also funny because even if you have advantage, you could still lose this roll anyway, but whatever to that, it's still worth it. So a really cool thing in their back pocket. And then moving right along, we have their requisitions. All right, and first up, we have adaptation in the field for 1 RP. Basically, it's a class change for 1 RP. Cool. It's an A tier. It's helpful when it's helpful. These are nice to have around, but they're not that special. All right, so now we have a rapid resupply. So purchase this requisition before or after game and select one of the following. Basically, the first one is you get to remove equipment and then trade it for the equivalent equipment amount for new equipment. So you're going to shuffle around your equipment. Yeah, who cares about that? Or you get to remove one or more of your strategic assets from your base and then replace them with the same number of strategic assets. So just buy new equipment. You don't need this ploy to shuffle things around. If you're using this multiple times to suit yourself correctly for the right battle, you should just be buying the equipment anyway and not wasting a crazy amount of points. Also, assets can literally be dropped at any time for free, and you could just buy new ones. So this is so incredibly laughably useless. It obviously gets D tier. Never even consider using this one. Just buy new equipment and buy new assets. All right, and then up we have Solemn Oath. Just like the Intercession team, this team gets its own little quest. They're all the same. You get to either defeat the highest number of enemies, score more points, or be wholly within your drop zone, and you get two equipment points. So it's cool, neat little ability. And so nice little quest. We give it an A tier. Do notably, though, that it is not as good as the Intercession version. We gave that version an S tier. This one only gets an A tier because, notably, the Phobos have really bad battle honors compared to the Intercession team. So this quest isn't as good for them. But that does it for the Phobos team, and we are rolling right along into our final kill team of the Imperium side, the Scouts. All right, and first up for our battle honors, we have Distinguished. So once per battle, you basically get to use the Astartes training tack ploy for free. So that is the shoot twice or fight twice ability. Honestly, I'm pretty big meh on battle honors that are basically a free attack ploy once per game. It's basically like, okay, this battle honor is worth 1 command point, but it's very, very restricted. Much better are the ones that you can use every single turn. So you might consider this maybe on your heavy bolter because that's something you might shoot twice with, but honestly, any other models, not so much. So with that being said, it does get minimal value. We plant this one firmly in the C tier. Honestly, I just recommend improving your shooting in the first place and then using the command point to use the ploy when you want to, because if you don't use it on this model and you want to use it on a different model, you're just wasting this battle honor, so it's really not that good. Then up, we got Expedient. So you add 1 to the movement characteristic. This is pretty cool. It lets you get to the objectives easier. It lets you make extra charges. It's super strong in Into the Dark because it lets you get to the 7 inches away doors. So you could open doors with a single move action. Nothing fancy here. We give it a B tier. It's not bad, but sometimes it remains to be said that on open boards, sometimes the extra inch of movement doesn't really make or break you anyway. And this battle honor is a little bit wasted. So kind of but pretty good. All right, then we have Well-Versed, and this one's a little bit interesting. Basically, your sergeant is your APL pumper of the team, and he needs visibility normally, and this one lets you do it with just basically global presence. So whoever has this battle honor is subject to being pumped by the leader's APL. So this is not so great on Beta Decima or maps with huge visibility factors. It does get bonus points on Into the Dark. It's definitely better there because visibility is super poor, but this is very limited battle honor because you're basically saying, I don't want to give the extra APL to anybody but this guy, or this battle honor is going to be wasted. So you're in a little bit of a catch-22, and it's definitely wasteful to put this on more than one operative because only one person can use it at a turning point. So with that, we give it the niche tier. You can find a use case for it, especially if you want, like, I don't know, maybe your hunter to be way out and forward and having extra APL, or maybe your tracker to do some engagement order flipping. I don't love this one. Probably avoid it. Then up we have Assassin, which is basically charge from conceal. That's pretty good. Like it on the melee models. Very nice on Into the Dark because you could charge up to your door, get your kill, and then still remain in cover. You could do this to barricades on other maps also, so lots of flexibility there. Something to note though is it does not stack with your blade ambush ploy because that requires your order to be flipped. So not a deal breaker. It's better to be safe than dead, but we give it a B tier. It's okay. And then we have mobile, which lets you fall back for one less action point, so ideally one. Not really useful unless you're against a melee team specifically. But if you think, I want you to think about how often you actually fall back in this game. This requires several things. It requires you to be charged. It requires you to survive the combat, and then also requires you to have your answer of getting out of that engagement range not be you fighting yourself. So using your own fight action. And scouts have pretty good melee. They've got the 3-4 damage. Their melee operatives are even stronger with their combat knives. So they usually fight their way out of situations. So the amount of nicheness in this ability for it to even possibly become valuable, I would honestly scrape this as borderline trap tier, but we are going to give it the minimum value tier. So scraping by with just barely a C. I really don't like this one. Definitely one to avoid. All right, and then we have Raider, which is another melee one. Lots of melee ones for this team. Basically lets you do the charge action while you're already engaged with another model. So this is interesting where if you want to charge a model, especially one that's already been activated, you could be safe from shooting because neither model could be shot. And the next turning point, you could charge their backline and hit their super valuable gunner or something along those lines. However, it can be really difficult to get yourself in this situation where you find it useful. You could simply just charge the model in the first turn anyway, and then use your Astartes training to get the double kill if you've APL pumped them, or you just fight and shoot. So you're really going to struggle to make use of this, and that shouldn't be Battle Honors. Battle Honors shouldn't be hard to use. So for the amount of nicheness to even can see value out of this one, again, we throw this one into the C tier. But that is it for their Battle Honors, rolling right along to their rare equipment. And first up, we got Incendiary Shotgun Shells for 1 equipment point. Select a shotgun this operative is equipped with, and it gains the Blast 1 special roll. That's kind of cool. It's pretty cheap, and basically if you have this rare equipment lying around, I would always take it. It is pretty nice. 1-inch blast is really easy to play around, so you're not going to be punking horde teams very hard. Unlike 2-inch blast, 1-inch blast is not too bad to deal with. It is pretty cool in Into the Dark because it's basically giving your gun lethal 5, which we like. But curiously enough, this equipment is actually the best thing for elites on Into the Dark, because giving yourself lethal 5 on your shotguns is going to be the key to crunching through their armor when you don't have the AP on your weapons. So with that, we're going to give it a B tier. It's not bad, but honestly, it's not the greatest out there. Then up, we got the Polycam Cloak for 2 equipment points. It's Super Conceal. Honestly, I really like Super Conceal when it's useful. These guys do have a tactical ploy that lets you use Super Conceal anyway, so you're kind of just saving your points for other things. Super good on Beta Decima. D tier on Into the Dark because there's no point in it there. So just, understand your map and understand how this is good for you. So we give it an A tier for when it is good, because when it shines, honestly. Super Conceal's great. All right, and then we have the Tactical Scope, which has a variable cost, either 2 for your bolt guns or 4 for your sniper rifles, and it gives you the Lethal 5 special roll. Lethal 5 on your sniper is actually pretty gosh darn respectable. You can get multiple crits with your Lethal 5, and you can mix it up with using Emboldened Aspirant to even throw additional crits in there. So you could easily see yourself getting like 3 crits, which is 9 mortal wounds, and just instantly deleting things. So pretty cool. 4 equipment points is a little bit pricey, but usually you have the expanded armory, so you've got the equipment points to spare anyway, so you're pretty good. So easy A tier. Honestly, I really like this one. Then up, we got the High Explosive Warhead for 2 equipment points. Only used on the heavy gunner with the missile launcher, but it turns your Blast 2 special rule into Blast 3, which Blast 3 is basically impossible to deal with. Like, you are going to hit 2-3 things, depending on the enemy team, easily so many times. So this is the absolute horde destroyer. If you've got a Chaos Cultist player on your team, if you've got a Vet Guard player on the enemy team, take this. It is incredible, and you're going to be blasting through them. Also to note that it is stronger on Into the Dark because Lethal 5, that makes it 3-5 damage to Lethal 5. That's pretty gosh darn respectable. It's not very good against elites. It might pull you out an extra shot, but considering the gun is 0 AP anyway, you're probably not going to be caring that much about it. So knowing your matchups, we are going to shoot this one right down the middle because you're probably going to have a mix of both elites and horde teams on your team if you're considering taking this. But the more horde, the more good this is, so really consider this one. Okay, next up we got another cool one. We got the Transspectral Lenses for 4 equipment points. It gives your operative the following action for 1 AP until the end of the activation. Each time it makes a shooting attack, each enemy operative with a conceal order and is covered by light terrain is treated as having a engage order for the shooting attack instead. This operative cannot perform this action while is in engagement range of another operative. So basically, shoot people under light terrain. That's really cool. We like that a lot. Super powerful on your gunners. Particularly, I would put this on your heavy bolter because you can really boost him up with some other equipment, and you can have him shoot twice if you give the additional APL from your leader. And you want to bring him into points where basically your objective markers are covered by light cover. This is pretty common at Beta Decima and Into the Dark. You'll oftentimes see it in open board, so really useful. Also, you can combine your gunner with the infiltrate scouting option, so you can keep his order concealed until he's ready to shoot and ready to pop off. So super powerful. I really like this one, and I think we land it firmly in the A tier for this team. A little bit expensive, but honestly, it's worth the cost. All right, and then we got the suppressor. So basically for 2 or 3 equipment points, you could select a pistol, which you never pick, or a bolt gun, and give it the silent special role. Silent weapons are awesome. You could put this on your leader, have him chill in the back line with his bolter, and basically just shoot twice all game and then hand out APL like candy. Or you put it on someone who wants to kind of like chill in the back and do an objective and still provide a shooting threat. I really like this one. The bolters, unfortunately, aren't super strong guns because they don't have any AP, but with that, we still firmly put it in the A tier. It's really not a bad rare equipment. All right, and that's it for the rare equipments. Moving on to the strategic assets. So first up, we have scout vehicles. At the end of your setup operative step, you could select an additional forward scouting option. However, this does not affect the maximum number of times you can select any given option. So it's cool. There's some really good options in there. It's very flexible. You can go for that extra command point. You can go for that extra subtract 1 from your enemy's APL. So you've got some cool options there. You could think of this as minimum investment of like you're just basically getting an additional command point in exchange for your strategic asset, which is kind of like below the average we want, but you can only go up from there, which is a pretty good thing. It works well with communications beacon, which is coming right up next. So it's niche, but honestly, it's not bad. I think it's got some fierce competition from the core book, so I wouldn't be your first pickup, but it's definitely a cool thing to consider when we go to our next one, which is the communications beacon. So this one lets you resolve a forward scouting option 1 more time than you would normally be able to do so. So it basically lets you choose the best one more than once. So you could pop a double APL drain on your opponent's objective doers that they were like, so if they need 3 APL to get to the mission objective, you could just screw them over first turn. You could booby trap multiple points. You could designate multiple targets if you want to. Probably not my first choice, but you've got options, and this one's super flexible, which I really like. So I think this one's a little bit better. We're definitely going to put this one more in the A tier because it really lets you select your best options multiple times. And then lastly, we got Cogitator Banks. So this lets you pick from the Infiltrate and Recon archetypes when selecting TAC Ops. So choosing the easiest TAC Ops makes for an easier game. That's kind of simple. You could take Install Device or Implant from the Infiltration tree, and then Recon tends to be one of the most easiest TAC Op trees you could choose anyway with its Recover item. Maybe Siege Vantage is really easy if you're playing some Beta Decima. So easier TAC Ops, easier game. However, you know what else makes it an easier game? Just raw stat checking your opponent, having really powerful models, or being able to use all your ploys a lot. So more killing power and defense also makes an easier game. And also, it probably makes it less casualty tests. So I'm not saying this one's completely useless, but I think it might be just a little bit more overrated than you might give it at a quick glance. I do think it has its place, so we're going to land this one in the C tier with the niche capabilities. If you have a strong game plan going forward with this one, I think you can rock it and have some great success. But in general, I don't think I would pick this one unless you've got that firm game plan in mind. All right, and then up we got the requisitions. So impart knowledge for 1 equipment point. So this one's interesting. It lets you remove up to 6 experience points off your leader and redistribute them across your other operatives such that you are not decreasing your leader's rank. So this is kind of cool. It's basically an EXP share from Pokemon. It really does help you get all of your battle honors really quickly. So like you get the huge power spike when everyone on your team has a single battle honor. That's pretty much like one of the most powerful states you're going to be in most campaigns. Honestly though, I wouldn't go too power hungry with this one. Only use it if you got extra points lying around. And the other thing is you're not really gaining any EXP out of this. You're just redistributing it. So that's not really a deal breaker, but your sergeant is going to level up more slowly because of this. So with all that being said, I think I'm going to give it a B tier just because you're going to hit that early power spike, and that's kind of cool. Otherwise, it really doesn't have too much use. All right, and then up we have Learn from Failure for 1 RP. So this one's kind of fun. So purchase this requisition in a game in which one of your scouts was incapacitated, but your sergeant was not. That operative, the first one, gets 1 experience point. If it didn't inflict any damage on any enemy, it also gets an experience point. And if you lost the game, you also get an experience point. So it's kind of a fun, like, oh, you lost the game and you did poorly, but cool. You know what? You learned something. Good for you. So this is kind of feels a feels good and a feels bad situation. I like it. I think it's funny. I think it's fun. And so it's honestly a pretty decent EXP boost. You could get up to 3 experience points for 1 RP. I think that's a very good trade. And so if you've got extra RP to spend, totally spend it on this. Something to note though is that these operatives that have been dying, if they get battle scarred, they're more likely to die. And you could be wasteful using this on them because if they die, any RP that you spent on them is basically wasted. So with that being said, we firmly plant this one of the B tier. It's cool, not amazing, but we like it. All right, and this next one is quite the doozy, so we're gonna walk through this one together. So this is Worthy of the Chapter for 1 RP. Purchase this requisition before or after a game, remove 1 Scout Squad operative from your data slate, excluding the Sergeant. Then use the operative assigned requisition to add an Adaptus Astartes operative, excluding a leader, to a different data slate of a different faction that has the Adaptus Astartes keyword. That new operative has a number of experience points equal to the lowest number of experience points removed from its rank. Select its battle honors accordingly. So basically, you're the same rank going in. For example, if you removed a Scout Squad Warrior with 20 EXP, you could add a Saboteur to the Phobos Strike Team with 16 EXP. Note that the added operative has no battle scars. So this is a really weird requisition. I'm going to put it in plain English. Basically, this means is you get to take your leveled up scouts and move them to an entirely different kill team. I want to say clearly, this does not let you add a Phobos Strike member into your scout team, like they're ranking up and now you get to play with 8 scouts and 1 Phobos. No, you're just ranking up in a completely different roster. So basically you're playing scouts and you're like pre-leveling your operatives for when you actually go off and you go play Phobos or Intercession or any of those other Astartes teams. So, like, it's flavorful, I guess. Like, that's what scouts do. They turn into Space Marines when they grow up. But unfortunately, it's kind of mechanically useless unless you're like, I don't know, got some fun narrative reason to change teams or something like that. But like, that doesn't really happen unless you're playing a very flavorful game. So unfortunately, I think we're gonna give this a D tier because it's like kind of technically useless. If you want to play Phobos and level them up, just go play Phobos and level them up. You'll do a faster and more efficient job and not be wasting so many requisition points. So unfortunately, I think this was a trap. It almost sounds really cool, but yeah. All right, and that is going to do it for the Scouts kill team, the last kill team of the Imperium side. Here's a little shout out for comments down below. If you guys have any wicked combos you can think of, we'd love to hear it. Also, is there anything we missed? We here at Too Casual, we pretty pride ourselves on our tier list being absolutely bulletproof, but we always love other thoughts on them. So please get some discussion going. We also got discussion going on our Discord. I want to thank you so much for coming this far. I know it's been a wild ride with this entire Imperium narrative tier list, but guess what? We're doing tier lists for every single kill team in all of the games, so that's going to be awesome. You know, stay tuned for that. If you want to come chat with us, we have a Discord. We love talking about tabletop games, art, other cool things. So links down in the comment below. If you liked what you saw, please consider dropping a like and a sub. And honestly, guys, we really just hope you had an awesome day. I hope you guys get something cool to eat later today, and you have some awesome games coming up. And we will see you guys in the next video. Ciao, ciao.